Now, comprehensive sex education has long been considered a critical piece in sexual violence prevention. Thinking about this all at once can feel overwhelming, so it can be helpful to split things into what needs to be considered before, during and after sex education. Sometimes navigating trauma can feel uncomfortable, difficult, or beyond our scope, but there are things that facilitators can do before, during and after a sex education to be trauma-informed. No matter what, it is important to know that it's every victim's responsibility to communicate with an educator what traumatic experiences they may carry. Now, experts are of the opinion that even if no one has sexual trauma, extra care and compassion is always beneficial. Omolayo, Oyawole, is a child behavior therapist and a sexual abuse counselor. She recently wrote a book on sex education, and she joins us now. Omolayo, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
So, yeah, sexual abuse, how prevalent in Nigeria?
Okay, so according to UNICEF, 6 out of 10 children have gone through one form of abuse or the other. And it didn't used to be that way back in the days. It used to be, I think, 4 to 10 children. It means it's increased. And the real issue is the lack of sex education or inadequate information. Children are not being taught what their emotional and physical development is all about. It's important that children know what to do when a pedophile shows up, all right? I'm a sexual abuse survivor, and I know that what could have saved me would have been sex education. If I had known that I could run away, I could shout, I could report. I didn't even know it had a name, all right? So if children are properly taught on what they ought to do, how they can protect themselves, on their emotional and physical development, on why they feel the way they feel, especially crossing into puberty, a lot of pedophiles will know that these children are well informed, that they can fight for themselves. Because pedophiles prey on children. They can't talk, they can't run away, all right? So they go all out for them. But if you sit your child down, and I mean, I started a campaign recently for religious leaders and schools to begin to teach sex education, because I mean, children spend more than half of their day in school. So it should be slotted into that curriculum somewhere. Children must be taught everywhere how to know when a pedophile is around, what a pedophile can do to let the child know that this guy or this girl is up to something. Because not only female children are being abused, male boys are being abused also. So it's important that sex education is everywhere. Everyone must begin to talk about it to protect our children. Because when a child has been sexually abused, it grows up with that trauma for the entirety of their lives. I mean, you don't want to know. It's not a party where I'm still healing. I mean, I went through this, I mean, many years ago, but I'm still healing because it goes to your core. You know, you begin to doubt yourself. Am I even worth anything? It begins to make you doubt. It begins to make you have a low self-esteem, especially when a lot of people know about it. You are stigmatized. You are blamed for it.
All right, if I may comment on Omolayo, but as a survivor and while growing up, from your experience, at one point during a child's growing up years, should sexual education should be
you can start teaching a child as young as 1. I wrote a book on sex education a while back, and I said that from 1 year old, your child listens to you. They know what you're saying. They may not be able to respond. In fact, they may even be, I mean, distracted at the point you're telling them, oh, this is your body, mentioning correct names, all right? But as young as 1, a child can know, a child can be taught the parts of the body. You know, sex education is a lifelong learning, actually. You know, a child who is 24 and wants to get married should be taught sex education if they've never been exposed to it already, all right? So it is important that your baby begins to learn the parts of the body, all right? And he has to learn the correct names. Growing up, they told us that when you begin your menstruation and a boy touches you, you're going to get pregnant. I mean, you can't tell a girl of this age. They already know you're lying, all right? And when you don't give appropriate information, you expose your children even the more. Because now they go out and someone else is telling them the truth. And children of these days are curious. They want to surf online. They want to ask their friends. Mommy said this, is this true? So I heard a story of a young girl whose mom told her that, don't let any boy see your pant, all right? And oh, she agreed. But at a time came when, I mean, youthful exuberance, she had sex, she got pregnant. And the mother was saying, how did this happen? She said, I didn't let any boy see my pants. So apparently, she removes her pant and keeps it away so the boy does not see. I mean, I say all of that to say that it was a misinformation. Okay. And you as a parent, the primary caregiver, can tell the correct thing. These are your private parts. These are what it's called. And then you begin to increase the knowledge as the child grows older. You begin to deepen it. There's so many new sexual trends around now. What are the parents doing about it? We can close our eyes to it. We need to tell our children the new sexual trends. We need to instill our own values. Your child knows about it already. They read it in books. It's in cartoons, all right? So it's important that all the children at different ages. Now my book talks about the different ages and the appropriate things to teach at what age, all right? Because I know the problem with parents is, okay, so when is it too much and when is it not enough? I know that, all right? And so that's why I put it in the book on how that at this particular age, this is appropriate. At this particular age, this is not appropriate. Although, of course, if you find out that your child has been exposed, beyond that particular age, you have to increase it, you know. And don't be caught unawares. They can ask you from the blues. Oh, so my daughter asked me some time ago, what is copulation? I mean, I wasn't even ready for that conversation at that time because I thought she wasn't ready and I wasn't ready. So I mean, what I said was, could you give me some time to appropriately break this down for you so that you could understand?
And while she's waiting for the time you're going to give her, she's surfing online, like she said.
Yeah, no, right?
All right, so it's a societal issue. Yes. It's bigger than what we're talking about right now. So how proactive is the government in its own wisdom in tackling situations like this?
So I know that there is a Nigerian curriculum for sex education. Okay. I've gone through it and I see that it's a lot of work that has gone into that curriculum. I don't know how much of schools are replicating this in their schools, but I know that recently the Ministry of Education mentioned that it should be banned. And I'm sure he knows what he's saying. I don't know why, but I'm sure he must have seen some, he must have had a cogent reason for saying that. But I would say that we don't throw the baby away with the bathwater, all right? Whatever reasons that is, he could be expunged. Why the sex education itself should be retained. Children must know, they must protect themselves. So parents and adults will not be there when they're on the playground or in the school bus, all right? But when a child is taught, especially in school, especially in school, in churches, in mosques, everywhere. That way, you know, children are well able to do what they ought to do when they are faced with danger, all right? So I know that the government is trying its best, but I know that there is more that can be done.
Very good. In terms of protecting the child, even the male child as well. So where, in terms of our laws, legislation, how protective are they? How proactive in getting justice from
So there is a law against sexual violence. I think the minimum jail term is 12 years. All right.
Do you think that's enough?
I don't think that's enough in my opinion. I know in Ekiti State though, you get castrated if you're a man. I mean that sounds like it, if you know what I mean. But I know that sexual abuse survivors will come out more if the law not the law, if it's not difficult for them to get justice, if it's not difficult for them for the case to be investigated. Because I know that when you present with an assault, there are some evidences they will ask you to present and all of that. Of course that is needed, but I'm saying that when a child has been sexually abused, they don't get up to quickly clean up and to quickly gather evidences. They want to clean up. They want to protect themselves. You know, they don't even want to speak out loud.
Which goes to the issue of trauma that is also part of all this. So where does trauma come in, and how does one manage that scenario?
So you see, because sexual abuse, I mean, like the word, like that word abuse is violent. It's traumatic, and you know the way people react to trauma is different from person to person. Some people just never get their lives back because it makes you doubt who you are.
Well, you got your lives back.
I got my life back. I mean, I'm so lucky. I got my life back. I found healing. I had to go through talk therapy. I met Jesus. Jesus also worked a lot in that. All right, and so and like I said earlier, I'm still healing. It happened a long time ago, but it takes a lot, all right? And so if if people know that, yeah, this is tough, it's a journey that you don't have to walk alone, you can get family support, you can get friend support, you can get justice, you can get spiritual support, they probably come out more, all right? They probably come out more and begin to seek help. But with stigmatization, I got blamed. I mean, as a 7-year-old, I tried to speak to someone who put it back in my face and said it was my fault. I was confused. I didn't even know what that meant, all right? If people do not do that, when they begin to blame a sexual abuse victim for being abused, people would actually come out to say, okay, this has happened to me, I'm going through trauma. And I want to say to everyone who's been abused out there, to say that you can heal. There is more to your life than what's happened to you. You are not defined by your abuse. I felt I was defined by my abuse. For a very long time, I struggled on that, but you can break free. You're not defined by your abuse. There's so much more that can happen to you, but your healing starts when you begin to speak out about what you've gone through.
You know, one thing, Omolayo, this has assumed a wider dimension, and it's not just related to the female folk.
Yes, please.
You know, international scene, you have Catholic priests, allegations of sexual abuse on minors, as it were, and they're just beginning to come out, you know, to reveal all of that because they're seeking justice from one, you know, agency or the other. So, in that context, how would you describe, you know, the traumatic aspect of all of that in society at large?
Okay, so you see,
even in religious terms, here.
Yes,
we're talking about religion.
I know. I mean, I've been there. I mean, I told you I went through multiple, and see, when people have gone through abuse and they do not speak out. Like I said, there are different ways how people deal with trauma. They are there just nursing it. In fact, like I said, there is a point you get to, you begin to doubt if you were ever abused. I doubted it for a long time until one of them came up and said, I'm sorry for what you went through. All right. So people can begin to even doubt what they went through because they are being caged with that trauma. They want to, some people, there's something in therapy we call dissociation and disassociation. It's you trying to just walk away from everything you've gone through. The context in which you went through it. If it was in a dark room, you hate the dark. I mean, you just want to run away from everything that makes you remember what you've gone through, all right? But you know, when people find the strength and the courage to come out, even if it's 10 years later, to say, this happened to me, we should give them kudos for doing that, all right? And that begins their healing. The moment you're able to let it be 10 years after, because sexual abuse, if it's covered, it will be there, latent. You know, but it never goes anywhere. It still shows up like a demon, all right, until you expose it. Then that's when your true freedom would come. A lot of adults are exhibiting traits of abuse now. They may never remember it's because of what they've gone through, because, I mean, it's been many years. But no matter how long it's been, when you finally come out, your healing journey begins.
Very good advice there. Omolayo Oyawole, child behavior therapist and sexual abuse counselor, thank you for coming to the show.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.